if you are looking to just make money purely as a creator, like what is the fastest way for you to make money? Starting a podcast is not the answer to that. And so I would say that the motivation has to be internal. Like for us, we do the podcast mostly because we want to. People will ask us, how do we plan our content? How do we plan guests? Everything we do on the podcast is what we like.
Hi, FK.
Hello.
Hi, Steve. Hello, everyone. And thank you so much for staying on to this point of the event. We really appreciate your presence here. So we're going to be having an AMA session with FK and Steve here. We've already received a few questions that we'll ask, and then we'll take a few questions from the audience. Great?
Awesome.
All right. So, FK, I know you've probably had this question a lot, but a lot of people want to know, right? When the first episode of I Said What I Said podcast was released in 2017, what was it that inspired that? How did you and Jola just come to a point to say, we're actually going to record a podcast? And this is 2017 when podcasting wasn't really a thing. How did that come about?
So, unfortunately, it's not like a super inspirational story that, I wish I could make up a light bulb moment. That's not what happened. Jola and I are consummate noisemakers, and we were on Twitter, and a lot of people would say, you guys talk the same, you sound the same. And we're friends. We went to the same secondary school. And so people were always saying, like, we should do something. And then, of course, don't tell her I said this, but she begged me. She messaged me. She begged me to do the podcast. But she was just like, look, I listen to these podcasts. And I was like, I listen to podcasts as well. There is no sort of fun millennial Nigerian podcast. At that time, a couple of people had podcasts still, but it was more, Asage had about music. There were other things going on, but it wasn't just one that was general, just personality driven. And she was like, look, let's try it. That we will record 3 episodes. And if nobody listens to it, Shebi will not say anything. We'll close it. And that was honestly the plan. We went into, so we were working with Aristocrats. We went in there and we were like, look, we're recording 3 episodes. And if nobody listens to this thing, then we'll all pack our bags and thank you so much for coming. And we put the first one out, and lo and behold, people that I don't know were messaging us saying, they listened to the first episode. When is the second episode coming out? And I was like, what do you mean, when is the next episode coming out? And it honestly just went from there. So we didn't have any grand plan at the beginning. We were just like, look, let's try it. And we were 100% ready. Like, if it doesn't work, we'll just say, so sorry, we tried, and now we're done. But fortunately, it worked out, and so here we are. But it was just, my friend just messaged me, let's try this thing. We didn't want to, actually, we thought about YouTube, but we were just like, it's so high maintenance to be on camera, that let's start with something that is audio. You can wear your pajamas and all that. So awesome. That's how that started.
Thank you very much. And Steve, you're probably something we'd call an overnight success because you just came out of nowhere, but we know. I've had the opportunity to work with you for a very long time. But for people who are curious about you, can you tell us how you got into, travel vlogging and, everything that you do now?
All right. Hello, everyone. Let me get some context here. How many people have seen any of my video online before so I know who I'm speaking with? All right. Awesome. So
actually, context before that, how many people started watching the Founders Connect show from the year 2000? 2001, 2021, 2022. Steve was the person behind the camera for the very first, second, third, fourth seasons of the Founders Connect show. So
yeah, that's very interesting.
Thank you very much.
Because when I came in here, I was like, peace, you have 1,000 people here, Okay, so how I started. I've always been so excited about cameras, when I had a 9-to-5 job, so my job would probably take me 3 hours to do, and then the rest of the day I'm on YouTube watching all these guys reviewing expensive cameras, drones, and that was literally how the love for cameras came in. And you know, when you know how to use something, you have to then find what to use it for, right? And one of my vlogs early in the days, I think you were there as well, we went to La Campagne. You know, I made this very small travel video. And when I posted it, it was one of my most popular travel videos as at then. But then it struck me like a lot of people were like, wow, I don't even know you guys have places like this in Nigeria, in Lagos, where people can go and get away. So at that point, I was like, okay, this is an aha moment for me. And then I started traveling all around Nigeria, finding like hotspot travel destinations, real estate project, and then I expanded into Africa, and now we're like looking for stories anywhere in the world, just stories about black people, people in diaspora, Africans doing great work, and on my channel you're also going to find some of the most attractive tourist destinations there is in Africa. So literally it just started for me being obsessed with cameras and then now wanting to tell stories.
Awesome, thank you very much. FK, so I said what I said is undoubtedly a very successful podcast, right?
Thank you.
But a lot of people are wondering, you know, beyond the view counts, the streams, and the tickets you sell out, how do you and Jola measure success?
Oh, very interesting. I think for us, the main things we look at are things around engagement.
Okay.
And so for me, the listener number is important, the overall listener number. But then the question is, how many of those people are actually going to engage with what you say? So my favorite thing about the podcast is when maybe I meet someone or someone comments on something that was mentioned in like an episode 10 episodes ago, but they were engaging with that content and they remember, or someone would tag me in something that we talked about that time that, do you remember? So for me, it is those things that we look at, like how engaged is our audience and how much are they taking on from it. Because for me now, there's a lot of podcasts. There's some podcasts that I actively listen to. Like when I'm listening to them, the activity I'm doing is listening to them. There's some podcasts that I'm ironing and, you know, they're just in the background. So I might miss something. And what we're going for is the first option where people are actively engaged. So we are always looking at how are you engaging community? Because for us, the number is important, yes, the overall listener number, but what I think has made it different for us than other podcasts is our audience is so engaged with what we're doing that even compared to people who have much larger listener numbers,
right,
the engagement that we have whenever we're trying to do something or all that is much, much, much higher. So for me, any metric that has to do with engagement, like with the audience responding or, you know, doing something in some way is more important to me than how many people listened to this episode this week, because some people might have listened for 20 minutes, some people might listen for 40 minutes, some people might listen that one time, whereas the people that I know who listen every week. So it's those people that I'm more interested in than anything, where we've become part of their weekly routine. And so there's no real way to measure it just on the podcast alone with subscribers and with viewership. But we're looking at the overall numbers, but the thing that we are trying to always grow is how many people are actually engaging with the content, whether it's on Instagram. We recently started a newsletter, how many people are actually engaged. And like our newsletter, people reply. You know, they reply and they're asking questions and all those things. So we're always looking at, if we do an event, are people going to come? All these things, rather than just us. Because a podcast is you talking to many people.
Yeah.
But a community is people also talking to you. And so we're always trying to find what is the best way to like have a conversation that is coming back and trying to increase any number that has to do with that.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And Steve, a lot of people are curious as to how you fund your trips and what kinds of revenue streams you explore.
With making videos, there are quite a number of income streams. Like you can create as much as 10 if you want. But for right now, we have probably anywhere around 4, and it'd be like AdSense. We have sponsorship. I sell my product as well. I think there's one more. But I get to work with like travel, tourism boards, they get to sponsor our trips as well. And I've worked with like Rowan Air, I've worked with Zimbabwe Tourism Board. So obviously we get paid for that.
Steve, come on, fly us out now.
You know, but people see these things and they're like, oh, we want to travel with you. I'm like, it's just work, you know. Like when you travel to this place, right from the day one you touch down to the tent you're living, everything is planned. It seems like you're a robot, right? But YouTube AdSense, obviously, we sell products. Number two, we get paid to make videos about, like, some entrepreneurs you see me feature on my channel. Most of them will be like, okay, you have a very huge diaspora audience. Actually, I'm more known in the UK and the US than in Nigeria right here.
Wow.
Yeah, I think these are like African people in the diaspora that are always looking for information about their country, right? So they're like, okay, come and feature us. We have this product we're building. Then they're going to come. We're going to fly there wherever they are, make the video. So these are all like income stream. But I think the goal right now for me is to build an e-learning platform, which is something that I'm doing right now, that's going to teach people literally what I do. You mentioned at the first question, you were like, people see me like an overnight success, right?
Yeah.
But I've been making videos for not so much, because before I started making videos, I used to shoot videos for people. So right now, I know what a good video should look like, right? I already know how to shoot. So me bringing in somebody on my team right now is just come and help me, right? I already know how to do all these things, you know, but at some point you have to leave the operations and just focus on coming up with ideas, coming up with awesome videos. So I want to be able to transfer this to people. So I think the goal for any creator, just like Mr. Beast, who's the biggest right now in the world, you can see him is gradually transitioning into product. He has Feastables and then Beast Burger that he discontinued, you know. So that's pretty much the future for creators that are able to monetize the views, because it's cool to post a video and in less than a week the video has 2 million views, because I have those kind of videos, right? But the question I always like to ask myself is, out of these 2 million people, except the AdSense that I probably got, how much did I get from? Did I sell anything? You know what I'm saying? Like, did I sell any? So we're still learning, and maybe with this conference next year, I'll be able to break down how I've been able to like monetize my audience from a product. And I keep saying product because product is what you can control. AdSense you can't control, but product you can control. Okay. So that's really the goal for me and for any successful creator out there.
Okay, just curious, when you started out, you know, how did you fund your trips?
I try to go on trips that would not require so much, you know, because some people now, they're going to see me going to Qatar, the UK, and they're like, how are you, you know, paying for all these trips? Well, I didn't start that way. I started by going to La Campan, doing videos in Landmark, going to Yankari in Bauchi, going to Cross River. Right then, like, flights were not so expensive. 40,000, you pay flights, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's out of pocket, but then I try to make cheaper videos. But right now, the video ideas, like the video ideas we're working on right now, it's a lot more bigger. I'm making a whole documentary that will cost me at least 5 million naira to execute it. So, but yeah, you just have to start small. If you're a travel vlogger right here, just start with your immediate environment. There are stories all around Lagos that you can make with 15K, 20K. You probably have to start with that, and then obviously you grow from there.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I think we could take questions from the audience.
Sure, why not?
Okay, does anyone have a question for FK?
Can you give me a minute? I know this conversation is gold, but I promise that this is going to be worth your time. So listen carefully. I've got something that I want to share with you, and trust me, it's about to be a game changer. I've tried all the hacks. Content batching, time blocking, to-do lists, locking myself in a room alone with only a laptop and a dream. Name it, I've done it. I've even made videos about it. Has it worked though? But here's the thing. Sometimes, even with all those tricks up your sleeve, you still find yourself hitting the wall. It's like trying to make jollof rice without the right ingredients. It doesn't just work. And let's be real, with 2024 coming to a close and 2025 around the corner, the pressure is on to finish strong and start the new year with a bang. That's a lot of pressure, at least for me. But I think for you too, right? If you're feeling a little burnt out, or needing some inspiration, I have just the thing for you. HubSpot, the absolute legend, have put together a free guide called the Ultimate Productivity Toolkit. It's like they read our minds and knew exactly what we needed to crush our goals and enter 2025 like the boss that we're meant to be. This toolkit is no joke, fam. It has everything that we need to level up our productivity game. A comprehensive and easy to read guide, productivity template on Google Sheets, 101 professional networking tips, a step-by-step guide to optimizing your LinkedIn profile, a 5-year plan template to map out your long-term goals, and the cherry on top and my personal favorite, financial templates to help you manage your money. The best part, it's absolutely free. No catch, just pure value, like this channel. All you have to do is click the link in the description box and you'll be able to download it straight up. This toolkit was made by HubSpot, who's sponsoring today's video. Shout out to them for providing this free resource. Now, let's get back to the video.
Hey, FK.
Hi.
Nice to see you. So yeah, I know podcasting is crazy because, I run a podcast myself, but I think what I wanted to ask is, you talked about the plan, right? The plan that was not so much of a plan, quitting if it didn't take off, right? And to be honest, I feel like I said what I said took off like properly. Maybe your less core fans, like the population started listening more during the pandemic because, yeah, okay. So I wanted to ask, like, how did you stay motivated from 2017 till your breakout year when, it just became a sensation? Like, how did you stay motivated? And did you ever think of, funding or money? Or were you guys already making money from the jump, from day one? So, like, those are my two questions.
Yeah, we're absolutely not making money from day one. Not only that, we're paying to record the podcast from our pocket. So I always tell people who are, other podcasters who are talking to us about podcasts that we started this podcast 2017, and I put it to you that just like you said, between 2017 and 2020, most people had no idea who we were or what we were doing. It was a very small number of people that were listening to podcasts in general and then to our own podcast. Also, we're not even serious for like 2 years. Maybe we'll record an episode this month. Next month we'll record 2 episodes. The month after that. So it was just up and down and trial and error. But the main thing was that we started doing it because we wanted to. And initially, the few people that were listening were so engaged with it that it made it fun for us. And so we kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it. And then it grew and grew and grew from there. But there was no point at which we sat down and we were like, okay, if we don't make this naira sum, then we're going to stop. And so the motivation continued to be, before we didn't keep to a weekly schedule. The reason we kept to a weekly schedule is because people who were listening were just like, please, is this a joke or are you people playing here? And why are you wasting my time? And so we did it because people were responding to it. And so we started, getting more committed and all of that. The motivation right now is really because this is what we want to do. It really has very little. If it was about the money, I promise you would have stopped this podcast maybe 2-3 years ago. Because if you are looking to just make money purely as a creator, like what is the fastest way for you to make money? Starting a podcast is not the answer to that. It takes time to build an audience, and that is, you have to reach certain numbers for any sensible money from events or from partnerships to come in. And so I would say that the motivation has to be internal. Like for us, we do the podcast mostly because we want to. People will ask us, how do we plan our content? How do we plan guests? Everything we do on the podcast is what we like. If you see somebody on the podcast because we wanted to have them, there's no amount of popular that you can be that, will try and angle having you if neither of us are interested. And so that intrinsic motivation is the most important thing, because sometimes the money you're expecting doesn't really come. And then if it was about that, then you have to stop. But week in, week out, we're there, whether money is coming, whether money is not coming. And we only really started making money in 2022. Like, that's the first time money came that balanced everything that we had spent for the 5 years before that. And so, again, now it's different. If you start now, a lot more people are listening to podcasts than 2017 when we started. But I think if it was solely motivated by how much we would make, we would not even be doing it right now, because 2 of us have jobs. So I would say that the motivation has mostly been internal, which has all the longevity in the world, because it means that even if listener numbers go up, if they go down, because we want to do it, then we just continue. And the other thing I want to say is, for most creators, consistency is the main thing. If people know that every week you are going to be there, that's the only way to build, is the volume. And in the pandemic, what helped us was people were finding the podcast and then going all the way back to 2017, because we had so many episodes for them to listen to. And that's what has helped us, where every new person that comes to the podcast is just listening to the catalog. You know, you're talking about 200 plus episodes back. So that's it.
Thank you very much, FK. Does anyone have any question for either one of them?
Hi, this question is for Steven. So there are quite a number of creators like yourself that create almost the same thing that you do. So while you were speaking, what came to my mind is, the question is there anything that you have, like a plan or a concept or an idea that sets you apart? Or you are the opinion that I tell unique stories and that in itself is enough? Or you are of the opinion that, there is something that sets Steven apart? Would you like to share that with us? Is that a consciousness for you? That's my question.
So I think what makes my videos very different is the amount of effort that I spend on research and just overall production quality. So right now my upload frequency is quite low, because I am very dedicated to making sure I want to make Netflix-worthy documentaries on my channel. I'm just trying to use that, right? So I'm trying to make the best travel videos possible. I'm trying to make the best documentary possible. So I don't think there's any creator out there that would sacrifice posting once or twice a month, because, you know, a lot of people make videos on YouTube and the end goal is to make money, because that's what everybody knows how to do. So the more videos you post, the more money that you're likely going to make, right? But then if you would be willing to sacrifice that and just focus on making the best possible videos, then you will really distinguish yourself. And I think that's what really sets me apart. And some of the brands that I have worked with, when I finish the contract and I ask them, why did you guys choose to work with me on this particular campaign? And they're going to tell me it's because of my storytelling, it's because of the quality of my videos. So I would say that's really what sets me apart.
Thank you very much. My question is to you, Steve. So I have been following your work. I think you and Peace started around the same time. So you've pivoted from, you've grown from that point. One, I would like to know what motivates you, because your work motivated me at the time and I gave up, right? Because of some personal reasons, I had to pursue other things. But I also knew that I could have also juggled the two things. And I'm sure you had things in your life that you needed to juggle with. One. And two, you, over time, you have experimented with different type of videos. One is with going to people's personal life and having conversations around the things they are doing, like what you did with the guy in Anambra. And then you also do travel blogging, and you also do, a couple other. So have you really thought about how you bring all of these type of videos together to or have you do you have different segments? Do you think specializing is a thing, or you're at the point where you can spread it out and then do every other thing together?
Okay, so I'll answer the first question last. So this particular one you're asking, how I'm able to integrate all my episodes, is that what you mean?
So it's basically, is it because you are at this point in your career that you feel you can bring in different aspects of yourself, right? Travel, lifestyle, documentary, and all of these things? Because primarily people in your space niche, like Fisayo niche, and other. So do you think specialization is key, or at this point in your career you should actually spread out and do a couple of...
I get it. So with every niche, right, you can go really far and wide, right? And I'm going to give you an example, just like NKHBH. he's a tech reviewer. But you can see he doesn't only review tech. That's our consumable devices like phones, iPads. He also does automobile as well, and he's also expanding into other things. So for travel is quite big, but on the outer, like the cover, people will just see, oh, some of the nicest places you can go to, right? But that's just the surface. So when you see me go to other countries as well, some of the things I like to do is go and look at their real estate. I will tour real estate as well because there's a way the Europeans like to vacay. You see, they're going to go to a particular country, and they're not just going to go there and go back home. They will want to probably get themselves a 2-bedroom apartment, So I always make sure if I go to a country like South Africa, you would watch my videos and be educated about South Africa from a travel destination. You're going to be educated about the real estate sector as well, and then you're going to see some of the Africans that are building product in this country. So the whole theme of my channel is basically to promote Black excellence and to promote Africa itself as a country rich in all of these things that we keep seeing online, right? So I don't always consider myself as just a travel creator. I see myself as somebody trying to promote the African continent, trying to promote the Black people wherever they are. So the documentaries that I'm going to be making in the UK is still focused on Black entrepreneurs building businesses outside of Africa. So all of this, if you put all of this together, I don't know if you're probably going to call it, people create niches for themselves. Probably I'm going to create a niche, but I do all of these things. So some people would say I'm a travel creator. Some people say I make real estate videos. But really, this is what I like to do. So if you go to, which country was that? Okay, Cape Verde, for example. If you go watch my Cape Verde documentary, you're going to understand the history of the country, the travel potential, the real estate side of it. It gives you everything you're going to see on Wikipedia in video format. Do you get it?
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Hi.
One more question.
Okay, so the motivation.
Oh, the second question,
yeah,
yes.
The motivation. So right now, there's this nice feeling, when I conceive an idea and I go ahead to film this idea and I put it out and it reaches millions of people and I get feedback. And, there are sometimes we make videos and somebody from the government house would message me your videos were circulating within the government house. So my last documentary that went very viral was the one in Senegal about the controversial Akon city. You see, I just had the idea because I was following that project since it launched in 2017 and then up to when I traveled to Senegal to go tell that story. So there's this joy that just comes with seeing this idea that I wrote down on my paper. It's now on the screens of millions. Right now, it's sitting at 2.2 million people. So I'm 2.2 million people have actually watched this idea of mine that I wrote down on the paper. So that's really my motivation right now. And I'll also say, money has to come in some way, somehow, right? Because no matter how motivated you are, if your account is not filled up with money, I don't know how many people will still be motivated. But really, that's really what keeps me going right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. Do we have any question? Okay.
Hi, Steve and IFK. So my question is this. I think when it comes to video creation, a lot of people are very particular. When it comes to content creation, a lot of people are particular about the qualities of videos, right? So, and of course, in the Nigeria of today. So my question is this. What would be your advice to people who wants to create content? People are who believe they are talented and, they have the drive to create content, but they cannot afford to buy, the expensive gadgets. What would be so people who are trying to start out, and so what would be your advice for people like that?
My best advice is to learn how to use your phone. So there's a lot of content that I see that is incredible, and it is with, phones from 2018. So it's not the new iPhone, but people have figured out how to get it done. And I think you always have to start where you are. That's the truth of the matter. Even if, so you need to push as far as you can, but where you are. So if you can't afford, for example, maybe the newest phone with the best camera, the best phone that you can afford, find it. Or look within your own network, your family, your friends, who has a phone that you can borrow and you can start to use to do that. On the other hand, there's also a lot of people that are trying to build that skill. They're trying to be videographers, they're trying to do this and that. And so there's partnering with them to say, okay, if you are doing my videos, then I'm doing something else for you. But I always think that the best thing to do is not try and push yourself too far in terms of what you can afford, because the thing with content is it's not solely about the quality of the video. There is a lot of content that is super viral, super popular, and it's not as well produced, it's not as shiny, but the content itself is just a lot more interesting, a lot more informative, a lot more entertaining or whatever than the one that has Hollywood quality.
So thank you very much, FK. Thank you very much, Steven. Thank you. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and thank you so much for sharing this.
Thank you so much.